Welcome. In this session, we will see what is DB parameter group in Postgre, which is deployed in an RDS instance. So we'll say it is a managed instance, which is running in RDS for PostgreSQL. So we'll talk about what is DB parameters group in Postgre, which is running in RDS. So when you talk about the parameters group, we talk about the different types of configuration file. By default, when you create a Postgre in an EC2 instance or on premises, you have configuration files. So by default, they will be available in your data directory. And if you try to navigate to that location and just search with anything ending with the word .conf, you will be able to see that. But the same is not true when you work in RDS instance. You do not have the access to the operating system. So basically, you cannot modify the different parameters which are there in PostgreSQL.conf. So what happens in that case when you do not have the access to the file onto the operating system? AWS RDS has made a very good way to tackle that. So they have called it as a parameter group in Postgre or any other RDS instance. So what you can do is you can go and change the settings in the parameter group. Basically, it is set of the configuration files which you will normally see it in your PostgreSQL.conf. So by default, they have defined it for Postgre 10, 11, 12, and 13. So whatever Postgre instances they are available in RDS, a predefined, pre-configured parameter group is available for all the PostgreSQL instances. And the different parameters which are mentioned, they are dependent upon the engines which is there, the compute class, the CPU, and the RAM which is available. So these configuration parameter files, which is called as the parameter group, may not better fit into your in your setup. So what you can do is you can create your own parameter group. So basically, it is saying like instead of changing the parameters in PostgreSQL.conf, you create a new file wherein you can replicate the data from uh, the uh, the parameter group, and you can modify according to your requirement. So basically there will be a template which is available for each version instance, and you can take the data from there. There will be some of the parameters which are static in nature. There are some of the parameters they are dynamic in nature. It is like your PostgreSQL.conf parameter file, wherein some of them will be dynamic, some of them will be static. And when you associate a new parameter group to a DB instance, the whatever the modified and the dynamic parameters, they will be applied only when you reboot your instance. So if you see any abnormal behavior, you must check what are the different parameters which you have changed in your new configuration file. So in a demo, we will see how to create a new parameter group for PostgreSQL. Before that, let's go to the RDS. So this is my RDS screen on AWS console. Let's go to DB instances. I have PostgreSQL RDS instance, which is with this identifier database -2. I'll just click it. And in the configuration, you will have to navigate over there and you will be able to see there are two things. One is the option group, which is not valid for your Postgre, but there is another term which is used over here is parameter group. Parameter group over here, basically, it is your PostgreSQL.conf. So instead of giving you the access to the operating system, which is already taken away from you, so what they have done is they have created a parameter group, and you can create your own parameter group based on the template which is provided for the each instance, and you can modify the value according to your requirement. So this is another way of tackling the parameters which is there in RDS instance. So what we will do is, if you just click this, it will take you to over there. So before doing this, what we will do is On the RDS screen, you will be on the left hand side, you will see there are several tabs. So one of them is parameters group. So if you just click it, it will take you the list of the different parameters group which are available. So anything which is started with the default, this is the default parameter group which is available, and this will be assigned to the particular Postgre instance which you are going to create. So the one which is of our interest is this one, uh, default Postgre 13. So when you create or when you launch a Postgre RDS instance, by default this will be assigned if it is Postgre 13. So what we will do is in the first demo we are going to create a new parameter group for Postgre 13 RDS instance. By default, there is a default parameter which is given, but we don't want to take that because we wanted to modify some of the parameters. So, and we cannot do it for the default one, so we are going to create a new one. So I'll select Postgre 13. This is the parameter group family. This is type is DB parameter group, and I will say this is my uh, Postgre 13, so I will name it PG13 for dev environment. Basically, it is like you are copying the contents from the existing PostgreSQL.conf parameter. Not synonymous, but just to understand, you can do it like this. So we are going to create it. You can see that it is created. So what we can do now is you have different actions which are available. So uh, you can uh, delete it, you can reset it to the default value, you can compare it with the existing one, you can copy it, and you can edit it. So what we will do is we will go to the dashboard now, and we wanted to assign the newly created, let's go here to the DB instances, click this one, and basically what we wanted to do is the default parameter group which is available, we wanted to replace it with the new value. So we'll say modify, and let's see what all options are over here. It takes some time because it has to load, it has to pick up the new values, and for all the static and dynamic parameter, when it is you are updating it, your instance has to be rebooted. So you need to continuously check the status of your instance. And we are connected to this particular instance, 13.4. This is database identifier. We don't want to change the password. You can see the storage details and other things are available over here. And subnet group, database authentication, additional configuration, you have the DB parameter group. Instead of using the default one, I wanted to change it with a new parameter group which we just created. So it is just like a copy of your parameter group, existing parameter groups. We'll say continue. And if you scroll down, you will be able to see it when to apply these modifications. That means the new PostgreSQL.conf file. It is just to understand how, if you have already worked on the on-premises environment or virtual machine which is running in a cloud. So either you say apply during the next scheduled maintenance window, or you say apply immediately. So the modification in this request and the pending modification will be asynchronously applied as soon as possible, regardless of the maintenance window. So we'll say modify DB instance. It is getting modified, and you'll be able to see some of the things over here. Okay, let me refresh it. Let it come to a point wherein we can refresh it. So you can see the status over here. If you see the cursor, you can see the status is still modifying. This is a very lightweight machine, which is T3 micro. It is still in the modifying phase. And once it is available, we will see. Okay, it is still modifying. And then we will see some of the scenarios where we are trying to attach it, and we will see how to modify the parameters in DB parameter group. This is still modifying. So one of the thing is, does PostgreSQL in RDS has a PostgreSQL.conf? Yes, it is. That's the basic thing. And if you check the status, it will show you some status as well, like where it is available. But the only thing is, you will not be able to access the operating system. So there is a separate way which is given to attach. That is basically to create a new configuration file, modify it, and then to make it happen, to make it applied, you will have to reboot your instance. Let's click over here. This is still applying. So status is available now, and now this should open a new window. Okay, you can go to the configuration page now, and in the options group you will be able to see the default one. In the parameter group, you are able to change it to the new parameter group which you have created, which is PG13 development environment. It is clearly showing it is pending the reboot. That means to make it effective, you go ahead and reboot your instance. So we are rebooting our instance. It is getting rebooted. So you can see the status over here. It is rebooting. It is something like wherein you have made some changes to your PostgreSQL.conf, and if you are on a Linux environment on RHEL, you will simply say sudo systemctl restart and the instance. Let's say if it is PostgreSQL-13, you will do that. It is synonymous to that. So it is easier to understand if you would have worked in on-premises or a virtual machine which is running in cloud. It is rebooting. Okay. The status hasn't changed. It is still okay. It is done now. And if we click it now over here, we will be able to see what's happening behind the scene. The status must show ready for the configuration file, which is our parameter group. Let's go to the configuration and see what is the status now. Your parameter group is in sync now. Let's go to the next demo. What we are going to try to do. We have modified, okay, we haven't modified the parameters in parameter group. So what we will do now is, let's click this parameter group. So it is something like you are trying to edit the parameter group. So let's uh, uh, mm, okay, edit parameters. Which one? Okay, let's change the analyze scale factor from 5.05 to 0.0.5. 0.10 and just save the changes. It is saved. Let's see the preview changes. The current value is 0.10, which we have already saved it. That's why it is showing it like this. And let's go back to the RDS instance. It is still modifying. If I say in a very basic layman language, like you are trying to add you have made the VIE editor command and you are just replacing some of the values, you saved it, and now you are trying to come out of this. Still it is showing modifying. Let's wait a couple more, not minutes, maybe in another few seconds, this should come out. Okay, still it is modifying. While it is doing its job, we'll go to the parameter group and we will see what is the status mentioned over there. Though we see the status over here is available now. Let's go to the configuration and see what is over there. You can see it is in sync with this, and it seems to be working fine now. Let's see what is the next thing we can do. We'll check the status. It should be available. All right. We modified as well, and then how can we reset the parameters group to their default values? So let's again go to the RDS, and on the left hand side you will be able to see the parameter groups. In the parameter groups, you will be able to see the group which we have created. We created this group, and if we just say edit parameter, and if we say reset, are you sure you wanted to reset below parameters DB group? So it is like 0.05. Do we change it to its double of the value? Let's say 0.05 to 0.10. We wanted to revert, so we'll say revert parameters. This is just for some temporary testing. We did all this, and then we are just saying, okay, we already saved it. We can go back to our RDS dashboard and we can see what's happening onto the to the parameter group which is applied and wherein we have reverted the value. You can see it is modifying. So back behind the scene, it is just doing some updates, making the changes, and wherever after making the changes, reboot is required, you have to do it. And we can copy a parameter group also instead of starting from the scratch, and we can list down the parameter groups values as well. Still, it is modifying. I'm connected to this Postgre RDS instance. We just wanted to see how the configuration file looks like in Postgre RDS. Still, it is modifying. It is sometimes very annoying, but that's how it works. It is available now. What we will do now is the configuration file. You just will see show continue. You can see that when I executed show config underscore file on an RDS instance, which I'm connected through pgadmin GUI tool, it is showing me that the configuration parameter file, which is postgresql.conf, is being stored at, or it is located as RDS dbdata slash config slash postgresql.conf. Let us see how your HBA file is located. So again, it is located in RDS DB data. You do not have the access, but through the query you can see it. And what are the different values of the configuration file? You can see it through the PG, select star from PG underscore settings, and you can see all the parameter files. What are the different values which are available? And so we have close to 353 parameters in your RDS Postgre 13. The same command I'm going to run in an Postgre instance which is running on a virtual machine. So 353 values were there in RDS. Let's see over here. And if you scroll it down, you have 329. That means the configuration file which is there in post in your default installation or local installation, it is different than what you have, at least in the number of counts. And the different parameters are tuned according to the managed instance requirement. Let's say the CPU which is available on a particular managed instance, the RAM, and the storage. I hope this is going to help. And in case you need any clarification, you can